What if I told you the Green Bay Packers may have just revealed their entire plan for the future? Without actually saying it? Because over the last few days we've heard comments from new linebacker Zaire Franklin, seen reactions to the NFL schedule release, watched national analysts completely disrespect Green Bay, and honestly, the more all of this unfolds, the more it feels like the Packers are building something much bigger than people realize. And trust me, what Zaire Franklin said about Jordan Love might completely change how fans look at this team heading into the season. But later in this video we also need to talk about one of the worst Packers takes I've heard in a long time. Because somebody seriously thinks Green Bay could finish last in the NFC North. Yeah, we need to talk about that. So stay with me, because the deeper we go into this off-season, the clearer the Packers' real vision becomes. The biggest story right now surrounding the Packers' defense is new linebacker Zaire Franklin. And after hearing his recent interview, you can tell this wasn't just another trade. This was personal. Franklin spent 8 seasons with the Indianapolis Colts and became one of the emotional leaders of that defense. But according to him, Green Bay actually reached out before Indianapolis even fully committed to moving him. That matters, because it shows the Packers specifically targeted him, not just as a player, but as a culture fit. And during his NFL Network interview, Franklin revealed something incredibly important. He had options. Multiple teams were interested, but he chose Green Bay. Now think about that for a second. A veteran defensive leader with experience could have gone to different organizations. And he picked the Packers. Why? Because he believes this team is ready to compete right now. And honestly, hearing him talk, you can feel the energy immediately. This doesn't sound like a player coming to Green Bay just for a paycheck. This sounds like somebody chasing something bigger, a Super Bowl. And the biggest reason he gave for joining Green Bay? Jordan Love. That's where things start getting really interesting. But what Zaire Franklin said about Jordan Love might actually be the biggest compliment Love has received all offseason. When Zaire Franklin explained why he wanted to become a Packer, he didn't start with the defense. He started with Jordan Love. Franklin said he wasn't going to join an organization without a proven franchise quarterback, and he believes Jordan Love is exactly that. Now let's be honest here. That says a lot. Because just a couple years ago, people around the league were questioning whether Love could even replace Aaron Rodgers successfully. Now, veterans are choosing Green Bay because they want to play with him. That's a massive shift. And Franklin didn't just compliment Love's talent. He praised his leadership, his work ethic, his ability to raise the standard of the locker room. And honestly, that's what separates good quarterbacks from franchise quarterbacks. The elite guys don't just perform on Sundays. They change the culture of the entire building. And this isn't the first time we've heard something like this either. Multiple players and coaches have talked this offseason about the energy around the Packers organization right now. There's belief inside that building, real belief. And if Jordan Love takes another step this season, this team becomes dangerous fast, especially because Franklin also had some huge praise for Ed Cooper. And what he said next should have Packers fans excited. Because according to Franklin, Green Bay might already have one of the future best linebacker duos in football. Franklin specifically mentioned Ed Cooper during the interview, and you can tell he loves Cooper's potential. He talked about Cooper's athleticism, his speed, his movement ability, his explosiveness. And then Franklin said something that really stood out. He told Cooper they were going to become the best duo in the world. That's confidence. But honestly, it's also the mentality Green Bay needs. Because for years, Packers fans have wanted this defense to stop relying on flashes and finally become consistently dominant. Now imagine this, an experienced leader in Franklin paired with a young explosive athlete like Cooper inside a faster, more aggressive defensive system. Suddenly this defense starts looking very different. And this is why the Packers front office made this move, not just for today, but for the future, because modern NFL defenses are built on speed and versatility. And Green Bay clearly believes these two linebackers can become the center of that identity. But while Packers fans are getting excited, not everybody around the NFL is buying into Green Bay's hype. In fact, one national analyst just delivered a take so bad that Packers fans almost couldn't believe it. And trust me, what this analyst said about the Packers might be the craziest prediction of the offseason. So recently, NFL analyst Adam Shine made headlines after predicting the Packers could start the season terribly. and even finish last in the NFC North. Yeah, last place. Now look, criticism is normal. Every team gets criticized, but this prediction feels completely disconnected from reality. Shine basically argued, the Packers' schedule is difficult, Jordan Love isn't elite, and teams like Chicago and Minnesota are better, but here's the problem with that logic. Most sportsbooks actually have Green Bay near the top of the division odds behind only Detroit, not Chicago, not Minnesota, Green Bay. And if you really break down the schedule, it's honestly one of the more manageable schedules in the NFC. Limited travel, 9 home games, several favorable matchups, and most importantly, a roster that's still getting better. Now, does that guarantee success? Of course not. But predicting last place feels extreme, especially when Jordan Love has already shown he can lead playoff caliber football. And honestly, some national analysts still haven't caught up to what Green Bay is becoming, because this roster is younger, faster, and deeper than people realize, which is exactly why so many Packers fans believe this team is on the edge of a breakthrough season. But while everybody debates the future, the Packers community also took time this week to remember someone who helped shape the franchise forever. And this next story reminds everyone why the Packers organization carries so much history and respect around the NFL. This week, the football world lost Sherman Lewis at the age of 83. And honestly, his impact on the Packers deserves far more recognition than he gets nationally. Lewis served as Green Bay's offensive coordinator during the 1990s dynasty years. He helped lead the Packers to multiple playoff runs, a Super Bowl championship, and one of the greatest eras in franchise history, but his influence went beyond football. When Mike Holmgren hired Sherman Lewis and Ray Rhodes together in 1992, it became the first time in NFL history that a team had 2 black coordinators simultaneously. That's history. And despite winning multiple Super Bowls as an assistant coach, Lewis never received a head coaching opportunity in the NFL, which is honestly shocking considering his resume. But his legacy inside football remains incredibly respected. And moments like this remind you that the Packers organization has always been built on tradition, leadership, and football culture. That standard still exists today. And honestly, players like Zaire Franklin clearly feel it the second they enter the building. But speaking of Packers tradition, there's another conversation suddenly exploding online, and somehow, it involves a mascot. Because the Packers may actually be bringing back one of the strangest mascots in NFL history. Okay, this story is honestly hilarious. During the Packers' schedule release video, fans noticed the return of Packy Packer, a mascot many younger fans had probably never seen before. Now technically, it was Clay Matthews in disguise. But Packy Packer was actually a real Packers mascot back in the 1980s. And yes, he looked ridiculous. Football helmet, apron, sausage links, pure chaos. Apparently the costume was so heavy it caused heat exhaustion for the person inside, which is part of why the mascot disappeared. But after the schedule release video exploded online, the Packers' social media account actually asked fans if they should bring him back permanently, and thousands of fans supported the idea. Now honestly, it would be pretty funny, especially because the Packers are one of the few NFL teams without an official mascot today. And moments like this show something important. The Packers brand is becoming incredibly fun again. Players look energized, fans are engaged, the national spotlight is growing, and even head coach Matt LaFleur is going viral now. Because what Matt LaFleur did at Lambeau this weekend had NFL fans saying the exact same thing. Luke Combs performed at Lambeau Field recently, and a bunch of Packers players attended. But the moment everybody started talking about Matt LaFleur shotgunning a beer on stage, and honestly, Packers fans absolutely loved it. Because moments like that humanize coaches. It shows personality, confidence, energy, and players clearly enjoy being around him. That matters more than people think. Great NFL teams usually have strong chemistry behind the scenes. And right now, Green Bay genuinely looks connected. From Jordan Love to Zaire Franklin to Matt LaFleur, there's momentum building around this organization. Now obviously none of this guarantees wins, but the vibe around this team feels very different compared to a few years ago, and with OTAs beginning soon, the real work is finally about to begin. Because once practices start, we're finally going to see whether all this off-season hype about the Packers is actually real. So overall, the biggest thing I'm taking away from this off-season is simple. People around the league believe in the Green Bay Packers again. Veterans want to play here. Players believe in Jordan Love. The defense is getting faster, the locker room feels energized, and even though national analysts still doubt this team, the Packers clearly think they're building something special. Now the only thing left is proving it on the field. But I want to hear from you. Do you believe the Packers are real contenders this season? Can Zaire Franklin and Jaron Cooper become one of the best linebacker duos in football? And where do you think Green Bay finishes in the NFC North? Comment below, like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more Packers news, rumors, and updates. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Red Zone Vault.